My name is Kristen Harol, and I work for the Massachusetts Life Initiative, which is a community development loan fund capitalized by life insurance companies, and we do community investing in Massachusetts. And I'm very excited to say that we just finished doing our first investment in a resident-owned community. Okay, so we just completed our first investment in actually 2 resident-owned communities in Carver, Massachusetts, working with Rock USA and its network, which was a wonderful experience for us. So we are community development lenders. We're used to being flexible and working with deals that are unconventional. So the investors in our fund, who are life insurance companies headquartered in Massachusetts, are sophisticated people who have multi-billion-dollar portfolios, and they look at real estate, in a very complex, sophisticated fashion. So we had never done a manufactured housing community. I had a few kind of major issues in underwriting to work through after looking at this for a couple of weeks and spending a lot of time talking to other lenders who had looked at deals like this, and talking to the whole team from Rock, and talking to my colleagues and my bosses and my investment committee, all of whom came up with, we talked about a lot of things. And I went down to visit the communities for a couple of reasons. One, I really just wanted to take pictures of the communities to show our investors and say, this is what it looks like. Whatever you think, manufactured housing looks like, this is what we're actually talking about, and how do you feel about that? And of course, if you've been to the Carver communities, they're very nice, and our investors had no problem with that. But as it happened, when I was trying to be discreet about taking pictures of people's housing, somebody came up to me, a resident, and he asked me what I was doing. So I just sort of said, I'm with the lending group, and I just wanted to take pictures to show our investors because we're looking at investing in a community. He said, oh, great, so you're with Rock, and we've had a few meetings, and he knew all about it. And so I just took the opportunity to ask him what he thought about the transaction, if he had any issues. And I really just thought I was going to find out whether or not he wanted to be part of this, whether he wanted to join and have a co-op and be an owner along with his neighbors. That's all I thought I was going to ask him. And, but in fact, he actually ended up addressing all of my underwriting concerns. So the 4 things that I and my sophisticated, bosses and investors were concerned about was the infrastructure. So the septic systems needed to be replaced. This is a complex regulatory and construction project that had to be financed in a complex way. And we were worried that the residents wouldn't understand that they were taking on that responsibility, and also that the financing would have to come from them over the course of several years. I was worried about environmental contamination. Not that that's not something that sophisticated developers could deal with, but it turned out that there were some more contamination that was uncovered in the due diligence process that we had not been aware of. I was worried about the ability of this group of people who had never been in a co-op before to make the hard decisions, like if your neighbors are not paying their land rent, are you willing to do anything about that? And so anyway, I was talking to this gentleman, and I said, what do you think about this transaction? And he said, well, I have 4 concerns. He said, I'm worried about the septic systems because, this is not to code, and we really have to do something about that, and that's a big decision for us. We don't have the funds, and we're going to have to finance that, so we have to think about that. I'm worried about the contamination. They found some contamination, and I said, wow, are you worried about, being part of a co-op? And he said, oh no, we can do better than that guy. I mean, we're going to do better than him. The main thing is that there's a couple people around here that don't like to pay their rent, and we'll take care of that right away as soon as, as soon as we're in charge. And I was looking at him just kind of stunned, and he said, what do you think? And I said, I think I'm overpaid, and I think you're doing my job as well as I do, because those are my exact concerns. And so, I think the big issue is not just that I'm not as good at my job as I thought I was, but also that, first of all, that these owners know their communities as well as anybody. It took me a long time to, think through these issues, and a bunch of other people thinking through them, but he had lived there for 20 years. He knows what's happened and what to worry about. And just because he's never been in real estate development, I assume, I didn't ask what he did for a living, doesn't mean that he's not a smart person who understands what's at stake, and a lot is at stake for him. And so he had thought about it a lot more than I had. And then the other issue is, I think, ultimately when you're investing in a co-op, when you're investing in a resident-owned community, you want to know that the individuals who make up the co-op know what they're doing. And having the intermediation and the technical assistance that the ROC network provides was absolutely critical for us as investors to invest in a new kind of asset class, because it's different than co-ops that don't have the technical assistance, and you have the track record to prove it. But it was also really illuminating for me to realize that these individuals also are capable of taking on complex challenges, and that they couldn't be more motivated to do it. And so it was a story I told my investors. They said, how capable do you think the residents will be to take on these challenges? And I said, well, at least as capable as your vice president and loan officer who looked at the deal. I mean, they know it as well as I do. So I felt, really comfortable about presenting it, and we were thrilled to invest in both communities in Carver. And we've introduced this concept to other folks in the investment community, some of whom I think are going to be investing as well in other deals that come off. So we'd love to see this come to scale, and we'd love to continue to play a role in no small part because of that individual resident who did my job for me.